everyone. It looks like we've got some people joining and adding themselves every minute. So we're just going to go ahead and kick it off. We're going to do some quick intros just to get us warmed up for what's going to be a great conversation. So just want to welcome everyone to this webinar that's brought to you by Smart Cities Council in partnership with Global Affairs Canada. Today, we're going to be showcasing the innovation of Canadian tech companies and cities. I'm your host for today's discussion. I'm Albie Bocanegra, futurist in residence for the Smart Cities Council, formerly New York City CTO and leader for the city of San Francisco, and most recently vice president for global tech partnerships and city partnerships for MasterCard. Super excited for this discussion today. I've been following the great work that both cities and industry in Canada are doing, so delighted to be hosting this conversation. So today we're going to talk a little bit about some of the challenges, trends, solutions, and like really cool work that's been happening in country, and things that have already scaled across the globe or are ready for scaling. So very excited. I think there's a lot to delve into and learn today, and more specifically, we should be thinking about how these solutions, challenges, and opportunities scale globally, right? How we talk about this, if you're calling in from, another country, another city, et cetera. So how can you apply the learnings, the knowledge, and the solutions from today into your environment? So very excited for that. But before we get into the conversation, I want to thank Global Affairs Canada and specifically their trade commissioner, Dakota Korth, for their partnership. So before we get into the discussion, I do want to hand it off to Dakota to maybe kick us off with some words, and then I'll start introducing our group today.
Thanks, Albie. Thanks, everybody. It's wonderful to be here, part two of what has turned out to be a great series, and a really big welcome to everybody who is taking some time to join us today in the middle of the afternoon here in Michigan, but whatever time it is, wherever you happen to be on. As Albie said, my name is Dakota Korth. I'm a trade commissioner with Global Affairs Canada, working out of the consulate in Detroit, Michigan in the US. And since we've done this once before, just a quick reminder, especially for those that weren't on the first call, that the Trade Commissioner Service helps businesses and communities grow and thrive through our network of skilled experts around the world, really by assisting customers of all kinds in finding new products, new ideas, suppliers and partners, and opportunities for growth and partnership. As a reminder, Canada has free trade agreements covering over 50 countries worldwide, supporting well over $1 trillion in trade. And really our message for you is that we succeed when you succeed. And that's why we worked with Albie, with Smart Cities, to really build this series out and highlight some of the best applications and advancements in technologies, and hear directly from those who provide them and those who implemented them. I'd say in the first iteration, we had some great dialogue, a good look under the hood on how cities are able to work with technology providers to really upgrade their ability to provide critical services more effectively and optimally more cheaply. And these kinds of conversations really help all of us move the ball forward rather than recreating the wheel. So I welcome every one of you to think about what you're hearing today, ask questions while we're on the line together, and feel free to follow up with each and every one of us after the call. So that said, I just want to thank today's speakers. It's a large group today, and we're really lucky to have all of you. So thanks for your time and your insights. Really want to remember to thank Connie Heath with Smart Cities Council for her efforts. We would not be pulling this off without you, so thanks again, Connie. And another huge thanks to Albie for agreeing to put the series on his shoulder and guide us over the next, this session and the next session, as well as the one we've had already. So thanks, Albie. And let me hand it back to you and say I'm excited to hear how today goes.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Dakota. Appreciate the shout out. Yeah, so look, we've got a great lineup. We got a star-studded lineup of Canadian innovators. We got a good mix of both municipal leaders and industry leaders who are going to kind of guide us through this conversation and share a little bit about the work they're doing. So today's lineup starts with Cyrus Tehrani with City of Hamilton. He's our Chief Digital Officer. Also, Jonathan Wedekind, he's the Manager for Road Compliance and Contracts for the City of Brantford. We also have Emil Sylvester Ramos. He is the co-founder of Iris, along with Mike Andrews, account manager for Livable Cities, and Jean Paré, he is the strategy leader for Protect. So to get us started, we're going to start with Jonathan Wedekind, who's going to share a little bit about their journey on utilizing technology and data. And then he's going to team up with one of our cities to kind of discuss their partnership and what they did together. So with that said, over to you, Jonathan.
Awesome. Thank you so much for the introduction, Albie. I just want to say thank you very much to Global Affairs Canada, Smart Cities Council for the opportunity to be here today. Dakota, Connie, Albie, thank you so much. It's really, really a great pleasure to be here today and have the opportunity. So as Albie mentioned, my name is Jonathan Wedekind. I'm the manager of road compliance and contracts for the city of Brantford. And today I'm going to talk about my department's journey, our smart cities journey, and how we've used technology in order to get where we are today. So to give you a little bit of context, a little bit about me, I'm actually a certified kindergarten teacher. Unfortunately, wasn't able to find a kindergarten teaching job when I came out of university. So I actually ended up getting my DSED license and I started working for the city of Hamilton. I started as an operator. I was filling in potholes, I was plowing snow, I was picking up garbage. And then from there, I've moved through a couple of different positions. So I was doing work as a, working on some legal claims. I was doing work as a senior project manager, doing continuous improvement projects and culture-related projects. I was doing training for my division, at the same time health and safety for my division. I was an after-hours road supervisor, and I was looking after emergency responses. But in my current role, I started in April of 2021 with the city of Brantford. And so my first assignment was to start taking a look at our processes. How were we actually doing things? What were we doing? So when I started looking at what our operation was doing, it actually turned out that we were completely and entirely paper-based. So it didn't matter if it was a work inspection, if it was a work order, everything was going by paper. This really was causing a lot of issues within our operation. Work orders were getting missed, work orders were getting lost. There was a lot of duplication of efforts. Cities, our residents were getting really frustrated. Our workers were getting really, really frustrated. We needed a brand new system. We needed something that was really going to bring us into the 21st century. So this is where we started looking at one of our first tools I'm going to talk about today, which is GIS. We quickly did some research, we found GIS, and we realized that we could start building some of the different systems we needed in order to support our processes and our operation using GIS. So after some extensive user testing, we actually launched our first electronic application in September of 2021, which was just several months after I started. And it came out and it was really, really successful. It was a road patrol application. It really got rid of a lot of the duplication of work. It really got rid of all of those work orders being lost. Our operators went from having to, look at a stack of paper on their truck to all of a sudden having a cell phone with a map. They could take a look and see where their work is. They could understand what needed to get done on a daily basis. And the same thing happened for our supervisors. It was a lot easier for them to be able to dispatch work. After that success, we could have really sat back and rested on our laurels, but we really wanted to push the envelope. I guess I'm a huge Star Wars fan, so I always look at it, I'm like, imagine sitting in the Millennium Falcon and you want to, press that button, punch it and go to a galaxy far, far away. That's very much my position in terms of how I look at technology and where we can take things. So after our success with our road patrol application, we actually developed a right-of-way activity permit application. And what that does is it actually tracks all of the permits that we get for a right-of-way from front to end. We have a full life cycle tracking of what our permits look like. At the same time, we implemented a worksite health and safety application where our supervisors can do all of their worksite health and safety inspections in the field. We're currently in the process of developing an electronic time card for our staff. One of the lessons we learned during COVID-19 was there's a lot of touch points when you have paper time cards. If you're using a cell phone or an iPad to be able to enter your time on a daily basis, not only is it easy to disinfect, but there's a lot fewer touch points. We looked at our winter processes as well. We've updated all of our winter routing, but at the same time, we have a sidewalk clearing program within the city of Brantford that we updated onto a GIS application. And one of the hot button topics right now within municipalities in Ontario is with snow windrow removal. This is a really, really big item. And what we did was we developed an application that we actually use with our contractors and our internal staff. It makes it really easy. Data flows back and forth in real time. And the wonderful thing that I like about the technology we've introduced is we get pictures of everything, which makes it really, really awesome from a legal perspective. That being said, my team likes to continuously improve. And this is where we started, having conversations and discussions with IrisGo. We started hearing about artificial intelligence. We started hearing about how we could upgrade our system. And so with that in mind, we had our conversation with IrisGo last year. We've actually now, at this point in time, fully implemented Iris Go into our operation from a road patrol perspective. I really, really like this because, I think about all the frustration that my team had earlier on in the year. A lot of that frustration is gone now because that duplication of work is gone. But at the same time, now Iris Go tracks so much more for us. It's not just about potholes. It's about garbage. It's about graffiti. It's about, traffic signs on the side of the road that might be, they might not be able to read. So these are things that now are coming into our operation in real time that we really, really like. We can dispatch out to our maintenance crews and things get done a whole lot quicker. Things are a lot more efficient. So that's why we really like it. But at the same time, we also found that Iris Go has a couple of different things that we didn't know it could do that now we're looking to implement. So things like pavement condition assessments, or we can do traffic sign inventories or pavement marking inventories. Now, I know I've spent a lot of time talking about the what that we've done over the last couple of years, but I think it's really important to think about the why. And for me, when I think about it, when you think about smart cities, the first thing you don't think about is garbage and picking and filling potholes and going and plowing snow. That isn't the really fun side of technology. That's not the really fun side of smart cities. But at the same time, it's really vital. It's vital for our residents. It's vital for our businesses. People need to get from point A to point B on a road that they can travel down safely. So for me, when I think about the why as to why I look at implementing technology, it's really about people and how I can help out the people, not only within my operation, but also within my community. So for me, technology means that my operators have a much, much easier time when they're going out there to do work on the road every single day. At the same time, I can provide this information to the other teams within my operation. One of the things that we really like is being able to share information with our customer contact center. People call into our operation to say, hey, there's a pothole over here, there's an issue over there. If they already have this information available to them, it means that they can answer those questions in real time. They don't have to worry about calling back and forth between departments. I can also provide this information to my management team. And because we're making decisions in real time, it means we can make adjustments to how our operations is running. We have information, we have much better data, so we can start looking at KPIs, how our operation is actually functioning. And then I also look at it from the fact of how I can get this to residents. Can I save this? Can I share this information? We're looking at open data and how we can get information out to people. So the more data that I have, the more that I can share with people. I kind of have two visions that I always end up talking with my director about. The first one is, I'd really love if he could, be able to sit on the beach in the Bahamas and be able to run his entire operation from a cell phone or a laptop, because I've been able to provide all that data to him. The second thing I also think about, though, is he goes to council meetings all the time. Whenever you go to council, you get asked all kinds of questions. And most of the time, my director's response is, well, I need to look into that. I need to be able to get back to you. I'd really, really love to be able to provide the information in real time. So when a counselor asks him a question, he just clicks a button. Here's the information. He's able to answer that question in real time. So that's where we're at currently right now within our journey. We've implemented artificial intelligence. We're going to continue to push the envelope. And realistically, my team is really excited about the future that we have. We're excited to be working with Iris Go and seeing how we can kind of continue to push that envelope, kind of keep on pushing into a galaxy far, far away as we continue our smart cities journey moving forward.
Awesome. That's fantastic, John. So look, I just have to say this. I think when you think of smart cities and future cities, et cetera, we always think of like the sexy stuff, right? Like, the big fancy things that are super announceable and that everyone loves talking about. But ultimately, the idea of a smart city is to use technology and data to run more efficiently and to provide more value to residents. So it's really cool to see that you've done that. You've taken traditional manual processes and you've eliminated the duplicate work that they come with, right? But you've ultimately just streamlined your operation, streamlined your processes, and then who wins at the end of that is people, right? So you bring it back to the resident. That's where the value is. And then the great thing is you also can take all that data you're using and kind of measure the effectiveness and understand what's happening in real time. So, super excited to hear what that's done for your city. But I'd love to hear now, from Emil on that partnership and a little bit about your organization and how you were able to deliver that, not just for Brantfield, but also, to other cities. So over to you, Emil. You just got to unmute yourself there.
Gotcha. I hope I can share my screen successfully here. Just let me know, Albie, if you see my screen. Let me just quickly. Okay. There we go. All right. Well, good afternoon to the attendees joining here from Toronto, Canada. Good morning and good evening for our global guests. Thank you again. I'll be, everybody here in the panel, Connie and the rest of the Smart Cities Council team for having us join everyone today. I also want to acknowledge the Global Affairs Canada team for supporting this webinar and in this webinar series as well. The theme of our Smart City Journey presentation will be mostly around operations and maintenance of our urban road networks and core municipal infrastructure. Following the lead of both panelists, Jonathan, who spoke about the project earlier, and of course Cyrus, and in their respective, projects within their cities. Okay, there we go. All right. Well, I only have 6 minutes, I think, so I'm not going to go through each slide, but I hope we can have a longer discussion after the presentation. So IRIS is an award-winning infrastructure solutions company. The company is an internationally recognized pioneer in developing solutions that solve the most difficult data collection challenges facing the roads, bridges, tunnels, and transport infrastructure sector today. So our mission really is to help cities, concessionaires, infrastructure owners increase road safety, reduce on-road emissions. Jonathan, spoke about how we should bring this back to the people. At the end of the day, it should impact people in the community. So that's what we're setting out to do. And of course, extend the life of the world's aging infrastructure through proactive maintenance, data, and AI. So if you think, we can help you automate, digitalize, and shave 30% out of your OPEX and CAPEX from your asset and facility management activities, please reach out after the call. I should be sharing my contact info at the last slide. All right, going now into the challenge in front of us, everybody. I'm sure every one of our municipal partners here in the call are aware of these outdated, really highly manual data collection methodologies plaguing our cities today. So globally, taxpayer dollars are being spent to pay for city inspectors to drive around and manually catalog road defects and road conditions through visual windshield inspections using pen and paper. There's also this big expensive trucks to survey road networks. About 130 to 250 USD per kilometer. So both of these processes are very slow, very manual, and very expensive. And most of all, these methodologies cost our taxpayers, lots of, money. So we've made our solution really simple, guys. We've miniaturized that big expensive truck into a plug and play end-to-end, data platform solution that costs a fraction of the cost the cities are paying. Sorry, let me just skip this again. I'm very sorry. It's not. I hope you're looking at page 3 here or page 2. I was referring to this earlier when I'm talking about the manual data collection methodologies that municipalities use today, and going now into the solution, which is really a miniaturized, truck that you saw earlier. So using ubiquitous city fleets, and I think Cyrus is on the call. He's the one who actually pushed us to put the technology in waste trucks, right? And with Jonathan putting the technology in patrol vehicles, really we're able to offer these 3 products, which I'm gonna outline, that are 40% cheaper than existing mapping and monitoring GIS methodologies employed today in these areas. So we're talking about the pavement assessments, we're talking about right-of-way asset condition and inventories, and we're talking about road patrol and record keeping and maintenance. All right, going into our project with the City of Hamilton, it really started around discussions around this problem statement is how can we conduct proactive community engagement and improve service levels of the city by utilizing data. So like what Jonathan said earlier, there just needs to be really a cost-effective way to collect that data and visualize that data and present it to stakeholders. May it be councilmen or councilwomen, or maybe the mayor, may it be other members of the city who are impacted by these assets and infrastructure, right? So one of the things that we really tried to look at and immediately impact is the safety of our roads. So we looked into sign inventories, we looked at reporting the location and attributes of signs. We built an inventory of speed and warning signs that can help with traffic calming. We've automated some of these manual methodologies, and of course we've tried to actually present it in a way that's easy to understand for the city and for other data users. So we started with sign inventory and waste studies. Sorry, it's not sharing in sync with the with my own screen here, but let me just go through this again with you guys. Again, I'm very sorry for the confusion. Okay, going now into the sign inventory. What we've done with the City of Hamilton basically is started with science and then a waste, study, project. So one of the things that we've done with the waste, with the sign inventory, is you need to collect this assets, in an automated fashion. Before the GIS department used to send people out to, to manually inspect each of these signs, so thousands of signs across the city, as you can imagine. So what we've done is put these devices on waste trucks and patrol vehicles and collect that information in one pass. So very efficient. We don't need now to pay for inspectors to go around and collect that, data, since we're paying contractors. The community is already paying for their waste services. So might as well just use the waste trucks to collect that information. So we've managed to collect all this information, and the impact basically is being able to really drive compliance for their asset management policies that needs to be done on a yearly basis. It helped them have educational campaigns, enforcement campaigns around waste, around waste programs. And ultimately, it really helped break down silos, because that's what Jonathan mentioned. These now, these different departments are now talking to each other. All right, going now into the City of Brantford, challenge in front of us. And I hope you can see the City of Brantford slides. Just let me know if you're not looking at that. Basically, what we've done is really approach it in a people-centric approach. Jonathan mentioned this earlier. We're not trying to be flashy. We're not trying to develop technology for the sake of developing it. But what we want to do is, first of all, make things efficient, with higher levels of service for our cities and for our community, and of course minimize the risk of the city around potential $1 million liabilities due to onerous claims, and we do this through the use of emerging technologies through IRIS. So how we did this is really create a program that accomplishes compliance around reporting for repairs standards. We've improved claim documents, and of course we have a visual interface that I think we'll show you in a bit. And we've reduced, like what Jonathan mentioned, duplication of work and administrative redundancies. So going to the second slide here, again, I'm gonna not go through each slide for the sake of time, but basically what we've done since starting the project early this year, right? And it's a 3-year RFP, that we've managed to win, defeating industry incumbents. Really, we're very proud of this RFP. It's the first one, one of the first ones in North America, being able to use AI to conduct legislative road patrolling. This hasn't been done by any other municipality apart from Vaughan. So I congratulate the folks on this call, really, for able, in pushing this innovative project through. One of the things really that we've seen is, it's automated. So we've improved safety. The drivers used to stop, go out of the vehicle, or at least park the vehicle on the side, assess the defect, and put it in a clipboard. But basically right now they just drive, right? So we're trying to be efficient that way. When we reduce gas, we reduce the time that they're out in the streets, we reduce the exposure, the probability of an accident as well. So there's improved efficiencies, there's cost savings, and there's that enhancing operations. All right. Not going to go through each slide like what I said, but basically this is how it used to be before. I'm not talking about just the city of Brantford. This is across the board, across the globe. This is what they do is, they visually inspect it using pen and paper. Using our solution now, we're able to actually automate the whole thing and reduce the manual points to 2 decision points, for our manual inspectors. Again, I'm not going to go through each slide here, but basically these are the 3 things that we do very well: automated road patrol, pavement condition surveys, and roadway asset inventories, using the same technology, the same solution on waste trucks and patrol vehicles. And I'm just going to close it off with these, exciting projects that we have. Of course, City of Brantford is one. The City of Hamilton are our flagship projects, and we're very proud of that. But we are in 5 continents. We're scaling this technology across the globe. We're backed by the federal government, and these are taxpayer dollars that we're putting to work, really, really ensuring that this Canadian-made IP is deployed, across different continents. And if you are in need of the solution, please contact us. My name is Emil Sylvester Ramos. My email is right there on the screen. And thank you so much, for making the time this afternoon.
Thanks, Emil. Love that you shared kind of like those outcomes. Agree. It's all about creating efficiency, eliminating redundancies, but ultimately this is taxpayer money. So I'm glad that as an industry partner, you kind of see that vision and you understand the importance of getting the most bang for your buck and providing results for residents and adding value. So that's awesome. And awesome that you've worked with both Jonathan and Cyrus's cities. So, you know, a really great kind of showcase of the regional approach to solving problems. So with that, I do want to hand it over to Cyrus to tell us a little bit about, you know, add to this obviously, but tell us a little bit about what Hamilton's doing and then share more partnerships with industry. Go ahead, Cyrus.
Great. Thanks, Albie. So yeah, just from my end, I'm Cyrus Tranny. I'm the Chief Digital Officer and Director of Innovation for the City of Hamilton, and I have our Smart Cities portfolio. I have a really small team, but we're trying to move the needle around our smart city maturity here at Hamilton. Hamilton's just around for reference. We're about a little over 500,000, and we're about an hour northwest of Buffalo or 45 minutes west of Toronto, with about I think a 2 million population base within 60 minutes of us. Hamilton is in the background there. You see, I'm up on our little escarpment, we call it, looking down on the city. And we've on our smart city journey, I think we have a long way to go still, but we've really tried to focus on finding projects that there's the appetite from the operational areas to take them on, because we know that they're me coming in and saying, hey, there's a new shiny ball over here that you should try, and this is what so-and-so is doing, really doesn't work, because operational areas have their head down in just delivering services. So that has to be a fit for them. And also sometimes any of you that are in the public sector, I'm sure, can attest to the challenges around the procurement cycles for new technologies. So our approach has been to sort of pilot and be able to quickly deploy with willing operational areas. And that's how we did the engagement with Iris, originally with something that started as doing some waste auditing using the AI technologies. And we've also recently been involved with livable cities, and you'll be hearing more about Mike. I think for us, it's, and I'm not going to talk much longer, but it's really about finding that fit, finding the right partner, and also supporting the awareness around the Canadian smart cities ecosystem. So I do chair the Smart Cities Canada, not related to this, but we have a Smart Cities working group where cities come together, and we really try to showcase technologies that are up and coming in Canada around smart cities and how easy it is to work with those companies. And even if they are global players, being able to demonstrate value add to our citizens and to our council. The one example that Mike will probably get into a little bit more is, we had an interesting use case where we have a port, one of the busiest cargo ports on the Great Lakes. We also have an airport, rail facilities. The challenge we have is that our port is the easiest way to the highway access routes is in one direction, to the major 403 artery, which is the main highway here. That is the second busiest highway in North America after LA. It's 18 lanes in some sections, is through the downtown core. So we have a lot of our truck traffic from the port going through the core. And we recently, what's called the master truck route, which we have recently done a study on and reevaluated the direction that we want trucks to travel through the city. It creates a bit of a longer roundabout way for them, but the intent is to improve street safety, air quality, and just improve, asset life cycles through the core of the city. And we engage with livable cities on something pretty unique in that we wanted to understand, how does this change in the truck route impact? So what are the metrics that we can see from this change? And one of the metrics we decided to focus on was noise. So we've deployed the IoT-based sensors that plug into our existing lighting infrastructure to measure noise levels along the previous truck route to create an as-is baseline. And then we will do similar once the truck route has been rerouted, which is it's in the process of being completed, and we're giving it a few months for everyone to become familiar with it. And then we'll do noise level metering around the new route and the old route to determine if there's been changes that relate to noise. We're doing some other work around air quality along the route. And that's just one simple project. I won't talk about the other projects we're doing, but maybe I can pass it back to you, Albie. And really for us, it's about working with innovative companies that are flexible to work with, that can meet the needs that we have, are easy to do procurement with, and are providing a unique solution for the problems that we have as a city.
Thanks, Cyrus. Again, I mean, I think showing the value of the work that you're doing to our customer, which is our resident, and leveraging the technology, the data, and the information that our private sector companies have, will allow us to create that digital transformation and ensure that we are doing the best work we possibly can for them, using whatever levers that we need to use to get it done. So appreciate that, and I'm glad that you're doing that for the city of Hamilton. So now I want to hand it over to Mike Andrews from Livable Cities to tell us a little bit about what they're doing to make cities more livable. Go ahead, Mike.
Awesome. Thanks very much, Albie. And I'll echo Emil's sentiments. Thanks everybody. Thanks Global Affairs Canada and Smart Cities Council, as well as all the panelists and our hosts today. I'm really excited to be here. I'm just going to share my screen and take it from there. Excellent. So hopefully everybody can see my screen. I'm going to keep things, try to keep things relatively short so that we can maintain lots of time for discussion. So what we're going to talk about, I just want to talk quickly about our micro sensor technology. So Livable Cities is a division of a company called LED Roadway Lighting, a Canadian company based in Halifax, Nova Scotia. We also have our primary manufacturing facility in Amherst, Nova Scotia as well. And really where Livable Cities came from was the expansion of our product offering to also not only encompass street lighting, but encompass connected devices, specifically smart city data collection sensors that are totally scalable and very easy to deploy in the public landscape. So here's sort of the suite of our sensor solutions. We've got ambient noise monitoring, as Cyrus mentioned, vehicle speed monitoring, easily deployable video sensors, air quality monitoring for particulate matter and NO2 gas. And one thing that you'll notice across the platform is, although the sensor tops look different, that black base is the same. And really what that black base is it's a lighting controller. So it can connect to the top of that public lighting, and it's not going to change the way that street light operates. It has a photo cell inside. It's going to turn that light on and off. It's going to give you some additional metrics about that street light. But what it's really going to do is it's going to allow you to easily deploy these sort of low cost sensor solutions on your existing assets that you've already invested in. So almost every street light out there in the public landscape has this standard receptacle. I've got one of our fixtures in the photo here, but it's totally vendor agnostic. This ANSI or NEMA standard is on almost every single street light. Typically there's 24/7 power available there. So fairly simply and easily, an installer or technician can visit that street light in a bucket truck and go up and toollessly install these sensors on top of your LED lighting, or even if you have yet to upgrade to LED and you're still using the older HPS fixtures, they've got an older standard receptacle, and our sensors will deploy on those just the same. So really want to support that ease of installation and deployment. So being able to have an installer go up and toollessly attach a sensor from the time the bucket leaves the truck until it comes back down, it's about 2 minutes to get a sensor installed. So very simple for rapid deployment or even movement of sensors to different locations within the city or within the community. And really what we're focused on is trying to support and be an augmentative technology to provide new and scalable ways to get, previously unattainable insights or more simplistic ways to collect that data by taking an existing asset and now piggybacking on that or expanding that to be a data collection device without the need for additional infrastructure or drilling into poles to compromise that asset, or needing to deploy slightly more complicated solutions like solar or battery, or have to tap into existing power at those locations. So I talked a bit about scalability. So obviously the deployment on those existing assets, supports that, but also our technology leverages the existing cellular network. So within that, within those features, it'll use the LTEM or the LTE network. So you don't need to deploy a gateway. You don't need a congregation of devices. You can simply and easily connect one device on the north side of town, one device on the south side of town, different types of devices, and they'll connect into the software via the cell network. They'll report themselves into that software and they'll commission themselves within 24 hours. So we've tried to accommodate every user, from the folks that are going to get really detailed and they want the CSV files, they want to look at the data history and interrogate that within the platform, to the complete other side of the folks that they've got 20 different things to do in a day. It's challenging for them to log into a new platform. So we focused a lot on standard reporting to take the high points out of that data and be able to present that in a few simplistic reports that can be delivered automatically every week or every month, that take the data, summarize it into the high points that folks need, and just provide that to them on a recurring basis that suits them. So I won't take too much longer, but I did want to touch on the project that we're very excited about to be working with Cyrus and his team in Hamilton. And it's looking at the ambient noise monitoring, looking at those truck routing changes and what impacts they're going to have from an ambient noise perspective. So we have some of our noise monitoring sensors placed on the existing truck routes as well as the new truck routing. And we're collecting the data from the sensors, and it'll be used to kind of establish that baseline from the beginning and then look at the implementation of the movement of those truck routes, and then look at where did we start, what happened in the middle, and then what can we look at as an outcome for some of the benefits that we've seen in those areas, as well as the impact to the new truck routing areas. And I also just wanted to show a couple outputs when we talk about those standard reports. So this would be a snippet of one of our reports, giving you the minimum, the maximum, and the average sound. We can also set a decibel threshold, so you can set your threshold and then look at how your readings are coming in and how they compare to that threshold. And also being able to show fairly simplistic graphs that give you an idea of what your ambient noise is for that reporting period, and show some trends. Is it trending up or is it trending down? I'll leave it there right now because I know we still have some other things to get through. But yeah, thanks again. Excited to be involved. I'll hand it back to you, Albie.
Thanks, Mike. So one of the biggest, for me, I think one of the things that truly makes a smart city also is that you're deploying sustainable solutions. I think it's not about putting more hardware on municipal assets. It's not about attaching more things to light poles and having more things that kind of produce waste. And so I love seeing that you guys are using existing municipal assets. You're also using existing municipal spectrum, so you also don't have to deploy more antennas, more infrastructure to support additional spectrum. So super cool. And I think you guys are taking a really sustainable approach. Not only is the solution great, but I think that the way that you're implementing is really fantastic. So really appreciate you sharing that, Mike. We will have some questions for you for sure on how you make those decisions. But before we do that, I do want to get over, to Jean. So talk a little bit about Protect and what you're doing with cities and essentially just what Protect is doing currently.
I do want to cover the Protect solution at a very high level, only high enough really to fuel our discussion and give background to our discussion about two things that are very, very important. So we use artificial intelligence and machine learning. And if I had a nickel for each of those terms in the last 2 weeks that they were used in the media, I'd of course be very rich. And what we use artificial intelligence, machine learning for in a transit and a trucking world is to reduce calls, road calls, service calls. So problems with vehicles while they're in service, increase uptimes, and improve safety. Next. And really what I'd like to focus on is how we've partnered. It's not so much in terms of clients but partnering with agencies to deliver a scalable solution. And it's one thing for that scalable solution to be scalable on our end, to say, look, we can deal with a small fleet. We can work with a small fleet and a very large fleet. So from New York MTA, which it has 6,000 buses, and to being a full fleet on Dutchess, which is in upstate New York and is 50 buses. But the approach to integrating innovation by these different sized municipal agencies is very different, as you can imagine. Our solution remains the same. Our quality of service and the advantages stay the same, but their approaches are very different. And I think that is the flexibility of a small company that we are, with headquarters in Hamilton and headquarters in Memphis, Tennessee. We're completely remote. I'm speaking from Montreal, Canada. But we have to see our clients as partners. Next, please. Very high level review of the predictive maintenance technology. So looking into the future, seeing what will happen before it happens, before things get worse, before things break down on the road, which is the last place you want them to break down. And knowing your problems ahead of time allows you to schedule them and be more efficient. Building on the idea of less waste and not creating new hardware, there is no new hardware that we're introducing. We're using real-time continuous big data that already exists, is already being produced by the OEMs, being provided through the J1939 port. You know, it's anywhere from 75 to 150 different sensors reporting data in real time. We send it to the cloud. We do 2 types of analytics. We've been working on 12 different fleets for over 6 years throughout North America to develop these very, very extensive models. And we provide 2 types of diagnoses. One is a AI-based diagnosis, which is predictive, which looks at very small changes in the operation of systems and subsystems to see what problems will lead. And the other one is there's already fault codes, there's already error codes, engine light codes coming up and being thrown at operators and being thrown at maintenance crews. We filter those. We make sense out of them. We provide alerts through our dashboard and emails before failures occur, anywhere from 2 to 14 days. And we provide detailed, tailored repair plans talking about and detailing and identifying the root cause and the way to deal with those root cause in an efficient fashion. The main thing, being able to integrate that in existing workflows. Why go through the trouble of working with an unknown, which is, you know, for a lot of people working in the maintenance area, the unknown of AI and machine learning. You know, okay, that's very fine for New York City with 6,000 buses, but how could a small transit agency do it? Next slide. Again, you know, here it's talking, you know, I really want to go back to the complexity of the solution, looking at a small issue, looking at a group of issues, not in isolation, always a problem, an anomaly to a subsystem is looked within the context of a bigger system, looked within the context of several subsystems. And that's how we can see things that mechanics on the floor can't see, that humans on the floor can't see, these minor changes within the context of operations and other systems. Next. Why do it? To increase reliability, to increase availability, to reduce maintenance costs. So we've been able to demonstrate through our large and small partners a decrease in road calls by 20%, a decrease in work orders, less problems, less work orders by over 35%, decrease in diagnostic times. We catch things early before they get worse. We provide the key root cause that people don't have to chase around for. Diagnostic times reduced by over 45%, total repair times by over 36%. And what really is an impact is having the vehicles available 10% more miles. Being able to run 10% more miles, for every 10 buses we monitor, we give you back a bus. That's pretty good. Next. So we talk about these systemic effects, and in the end, I'm just going to zoom down to the end of the slide. It says greater uptime, save money. That's why get involved. And I think that's my last slide. that correct? And so our journey with small transit companies and big transit companies has been very different, but the results have always been the same. And what we have noticed is the importance of in small transit agencies to socialize the solution very carefully with their teams and really co-opt their teams as part of the innovation process. And we can help with that communication. In the larger transit agencies, it's been much more of a focus on data-driven decisions, providing them with the data to finally calculate the cost efficiency of integrating our solution. The approaches have been different, the results have been different, and what we've seen is that partnering with a small company in innovation, a small innovative company, which reaches throughout North America, can provide a flexibility to tailor our approach, to sit down and create partners of our clients in innovation for that innovation to be successful. I'll hand it back to you.
Awesome. Thank you, Sean. So I got to tell you, so in my former life, I was in the US Army, and I was assigned both a Humvee and what's called LMTV. So I had two large vehicles assigned, which included, I was responsible for the preventive maintenance, for working with the mechanic shop, for repairs, etc. I wish I had that information because, you know, it was about me having to go to the motor pool every day to check on my vehicle, check fluids, and it was a very manual process. So now taking that kind of knowledge and the understanding of how that preventive maintenance process works, looking at the scale of municipal fleets, right? Which in some cities could be in the thousands, including school buses, you know, government vehicles, et cetera, right? All of that stuff. And in aggregate, to think about what kind of budgets are required to kind of maintain that. And so cost savings there, even if it's pennies on each vehicle, in the aggregate amount to a huge amount of money. And so saving that time, saving the dollars, et cetera, for residents by better managing your municipal fleet using both artificial intelligence and good data is probably making all of the difference in the world to the cities that you're working with. So much appreciated. I mean, look, can't say enough about the people on this panel, and I you know, I want to be the one to kind of ask all the questions because I got a million of them, but I do want to have an opportunity to take some Q&A from the audience. I think someone just kind of asked a question around sustainability. You know, I think, look, we can talk with Emil and John, and then, you know, if both Cyrus and Jonathan want to chime in and Mike want to chime in, you know, in terms of, I think, I mean, it just says sustainability. So I'm just going to ask the question in whole and say, you know, what do you think about on in terms of sustainability when both creating from the industry perspective and deploying these solutions from the city perspective? So maybe we'll start with Mike, since, you know, I think that was a big portion, that's a big piece of the livability puzzle.
Thanks, Albie. Yeah, I mean, I think you touched on it already. From our solutions perspective, I mean, we come from a sustainability background, starting in LED lighting, and then we kind of made the natural progression to connected lighting networks, and then on to the sensors, and really trying to focus on how we can, as best as we can, use what's already out there if it's usable. And obviously I'm talking about the streetlight, but also talking about, you know, the available networks. And I know some of the other panelists, you know, they take advantage of those cellular networks that are obviously available, which can be more advantageous in a lot of situations than perhaps a different solution that overlays an entirely new communication network, if there's infrastructure added to that. So I think speaking for the company as a whole, I think we've always wanted to take as much of a sustainable approach as we can, but also create a sustainable solution for our customers. Like, so trying to be more scalable so they don't have to go all in or deploy a bunch of equipment all up front. They can kind of parse through and take things slowly and understand the solution as they move forward, and understand where it's going to be valuable in more and more areas from our perspective.
Thanks, Mike. And so, Emil, I know that you guys did kind of, a similar process by using, deploying your devices onto existing municipal trucks. And so, kind of two-part question for Emil and Cyrus too is like, Cyrus, did you also, and Jonathan, of course, did you bake that into your requirements, or was that just good partnership, you providing the suggestion and your industry partner listening to? So maybe Emil, how you think about that, and then Cyrus and Jonathan, how you ensured that that was sustainable.
Right. I think what Mike mentioned earlier makes a lot of sense. I think also Jonathan spoke about how, utilizing existing city assets really is the more sustainable path forward. But basically in our industry, and I'm just talking about roads right now in the transport industry, it's responsible for a quarter of the world's emissions, Albie, 75% of which really come from road transport. So with all these things that's happening with with COVID-19, with the resource management issue, there's these assets are undergoing tremendous stress. So it's up to us really, and it's up to, I think cities are more, it's more incumbent, for our cities to actually develop policies around the deployment of technologies that can actually solve that. So I think automation is one thing, digitalization is another, but decarbonization really, it will take a lot of work from different stakeholders, in the smart cities industry. So I think we are in the right, we're headed towards the right direction. We have the hardware now. AI has been around for decades, but really the hardware, the emergence of the hardware today is really what's making it more prevalent. So I think the timing is right. Everybody is attuned to where the marketplace is going, where the industry is going toward decarbonization. So I think we're headed in the right direction. I'll let Jonathan and Cyrus to speak more about
Yeah. So how do you reinforce that, Cyrus and Jonathan?
Yeah, I think for us, there's a lot of consciousness at a city level of what can we do to improve sort of our GHG footprint, and how does city operations impact that. Specifically, in this case, we provided a bunch of data from our traffic group around vehicle classes and types, and the IRIS team worked with a local university to develop a white paper around the GHG impacts of utilizing automated AI-based vision technologies, and to be able to put a measurement to it, to be able to say, hey, this is what the potential impact is and a savings from a GHG perspective, as well as fuel and other efficiencies. It wasn't something originally that was maybe on our radar, but we quickly identified that, hey, there's benefit into understanding that. And there's more and more lens being put on that, I think, on city projects as to what is their sort of sustainability impacts, the GHG impacts, and can we do projects that have like a multiple benefit across both operational support, impact the community, and also potentially have impacts for GHG and climate going forward. I'll turn it over to Jonathan for his thoughts.
Absolutely. I think for my team, we always kind of have a bit of a sustainable lens on things. When we started to go down the path of looking at how we can implement technology, we started looking at existing technologies already available within the city of Brantford. We weren't looking to try and just reinvent the wheel if we needed to. If we could find something that was already here, something that we could already use, we wanted to try and use that to get where we wanted to go. But the wonderful thing that we found with Iris Go, particularly since that's the solution we've deployed, is we can put that into our existing fleet. We don't have to go out and buy a whole bunch of brand new trucks, a whole bunch of brand new technology in order to get it in there. We can just put it into our trucks, and realistically, we already have to go out there and complete minimum maintenance standard patrols as part of the regulation. So it's something where we can really seamlessly integrate it into our operation. And that's one of the things that we really like.
Yeah. Well, and to put a fine point on that question, just so we can move on to the next, is Jean, I think, similarly, like your company is obviously there's no hardware involved, but you're using the information that's being produced so you can predict maintenance, which eliminates waste, all of the extra, things that you're going to have to utilize that could potentially, build up into the waste.
It's certainly easy to focus on buses running more efficiently, to focus on the use of fewer parts, and to focus on other aspects that are physical. But actually, I think really the biggest environmental impact is having more buses available, number one, to serve the client. Because if we have a more efficient transit system, then more people will use the transit system. And that is where you really get an ecological impact, an environmental impact. So I think that's the first thing. The second thing is, if you can avoid, even if it's 20%, 25%, avoid breakdowns while the bus is in service, so you don't have a bus breakdown in downtown Hamilton and have traffic backed up all the way to Queen's Park, then that too has a very big impact on the environment. So I would focus on that, even though, yes, the buses run more efficiently. Yes, we save on spare parts. Yes, we can get, better life out of the tires and whatnot. The real impact is a better quality and standard for the transit system.
Couldn't agree more. Well, and I think to add to that is one thing to consider about efficient transportation and transit is that also there's many people who don't have access to vehicles, and that is a pathway to progress, to economic progress. And so if the bus routes, everything is running more efficiently, means people are getting to their jobs on time, they're able to, produce, be more productive, not have to worry about being late. They can, again, there's more access there. So all of the above, yes. And to add to that, it's also a pathway to economic progress. So better transit means a better, a happier resident population. So I know we've got a few minutes left. I want to field this one a little bit to our cities, but also industry folks, feel free to chime in. Go ahead and raise your hand when you want to say something. But so you've done a great job at building these partnerships with these different industry players, but what are some challenges that you encountered? And maybe even one of those challenges, if you could highlight a little bit about identifying the right amount of data to use, like how much data is too much data and what is usable as a challenge. And so, overall, tell us about some of the challenges and how you overcame them, but also the challenge of tons and tons of data out there. How do we clean it? How do we use the right amount, and what's enough?
Jonathan, you want to take that one? I'm happy to respond. Like, up to you.
Yeah, I'm more than happy to respond to that. Thanks, Cyrus. So I have kind of two perspectives on it. The first thing is I just like data as a whole, so I'll take all the data you're going to give me, pictures, everything. I will just take it all and I will figure out what I want. But that being said, I think what it really comes down to is understanding what our process is. What do we need to collect? What is the information that we need? So this is kind of how I view it when I'm building out processes for my staff to use. So what is the information I need to collect? I don't want them to have to collect anything that they don't need to input into our system, because I don't want there to be too much duplication. I want things to be too hard for them. But in terms of the partnership that we've built with Iris Go, I think that what I look at from that perspective is that they give me everything that I'm looking for from a claims perspective. And I also really like the fact that it's something where they're really, really flexible about things when I really need to make things happen. So if I need to collect additional data, they're willing to be able to work with me on that. If I need to, collect, cut things down in terms of what I'm viewing, they're willing to work with me on that. So I really, really like that aspect. So I guess it's kind of a bit of a roundabout way of saying, I just want all the data that I can possibly get. I want to see everything as much as I possibly can. And that's going to really help me in terms of being able to figure out not only what do I want to see, but also what I can show my management team, what I can show to my counselors, what I can show to my residents in terms of how we are doing, how are your tax dollars going.
Well, and it sounds like you're being super transparent of what you're collecting and what you're using, Jonathan, and how you're providing it for to be usable. So that's a great approach. Cyrus, anything to add to that?
Yeah, the other thing I add about, like, obviously data privacy, data protection is top of mind. And I think for us too, working with partners, we look at integrating into current systems. So, IT's taxed as it is, deploying new systems that are kind of silos onto themselves. In some cases, you could look at that as a positive or a negative. We've chosen to go with the route where, hey, for example, the work we've done with Iris, we've digested some of that data that was collected into our existing Esri data layers. So it's not an add-on solution. We're working within the platforms that we have. In the case of what we've done with Livable Cities, at this point, it's a point in use case scenario. So we've actually benefited from not trying to do very complex integrations and only accessing the data, and it's very data rich in terms of, if someone wants to be a data geek and dive into the level of, maximum thresholds at a certain point of day and things like that, it's all available, but likewise, it's high enough and has some built-in reporting. So I think it's just finding that sweet spot of what makes sense around data collection, data usage, and first and foremost, meeting the needs of the operational areas. And sometimes, having a lot of data that you can pare back and use what you need and create visualizations from it that are easy for people to understand is the bigger win maybe than creating some sort of fancy data lake and multi-layered integration with various systems and components that takes time and complexities that you then have to maintain. So it just depends on what you're trying to solve. And in this case, we've been successful working with what we needed that worked for the specific project that we were involved with.
Great. Thanks, Cyrus. Okay, so we're out of time, which always happens. We have so much good stuff to talk about. And thank you, panelists, for engaging with our audience on the chat. So just to close us out, I want you to think, I'm going to give you 3 seconds to think about your answer. I want you in 1 or 2 words, summarize or tell me what you look for in a partner. So for our city folks, Jonathan and Cyrus, what you look for in an industry partner, and our industry partners, what you look for in the right city. So I'm going to call on you and you're going to tell me that 1 or 2 words. All right. On your mark, get set. Jonathan, we'll start with you.
Flexible and innovative.
Awesome. Jean, give me 1.
Enthusiasm.
Love that. Emil, let's go.
Innovative leaders, what we have in the panel right there. That's all you need.
All right, you're out of words. You're out of words. Mike.
All right.
Innovative and active in adapting technology.
All right. Okay. And lastly, Dakota, what do you like to see when you're building the partner ecosystem? 1 or 2 words.
Partnership and cooperation. I think it takes everybody together.
I love that. Awesome. Awesome. That was fantastic. Look, guys, I sprung that speed round on you. So thank you for being good sports. I just want to say thanks again to everyone for joining us today. Thank you to our panelists. Thank you to Dakota for joining us today. Canadian Global Affairs for being a great partner. Connie, who's behind the scenes, making sure that this whole thing runs correctly. We appreciate you joining us. I'm glad that everyone shared their contact information. I know that the deck will be available to everyone who participated today. Dakota, do you want to leave us with a couple words before we end?
No, I mean, this again, we picked at the tip of the iceberg here, and I'm looking forward to the 3rd conversation and then what we can all build from there.
Awesome.
Thanks,
All
everybody.
right. Well, thanks for joining us today on behalf of Smart Cities Council and Global Affairs Canada. Have a great day, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.